Well, hey everybody. Welcome back for another live show. I'm glad you're here. Just want to go through a few things for you. First of all, if you're new here, Car Cost Canada is the sponsor of the channel, and I encourage you to go over to Car Cost Canada. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH. MOTORMOUTH, by the way, is the name of the channel, of course, and you become an expert member. It opens up lots more searches for you. So if you're looking for a new car, or somebody you know is looking for a new car, that's the best way to find out about it. What else? Oh yeah, vehicles that are coming up. Wednesday, we're doing a rare midweek drop on video with Andrea and myself. That's going to be the Ford Explorer Hybrid. And then on Saturday will be the Mercedes-Benz AMG A35. Then the following week, we've just picked up today the Cadillac Escalade. It's pretty amazing. Then we have the Lexus NX Hybrid, followed by the Subaru Forester and the Audi Q5. So all of those video reviews are coming up. All right, before we get into the questions and answers, we have to do some pictures. And the first one, now Claude sent me this a couple of weeks ago, but it was too small. So this is Claude Chappelle. Let me see here. There we go. There is his Audi A5. Looks very nice. And his son's car. Now, Claude, I like your car, but I like your son's car more. He's got a Mustang GT350. One of my favorites. That is a beautiful car. So thanks for bearing with me and finally getting that on. And then we have Merrick, who sent me this. Now, if you follow along on the fast lane car, Roman, he does videos with his son with the what do they call it? The TFL, the Tough T. That's the Touareg. Now, Merrick has one as well. He's got the Tough T fully loaded with the air suspension and the locking rear differential, and that is a pretty cool rig. It's a 2005, so it's 16 years old now, and he's moving on to something else. But yeah, that's a vehicle that in the long run will be quite desirable. Okay, let's get into the questions here. Let's see what we got today. Tracer Bullet says, hey, Zach, love your reviews of the IS350. It's one of the best looking sedans out there today. Would you pick up the IS over the 3 Series to own for 5 to 6 years? How does the IS steering compare to the BMWs? Well, they're very different cars. I mean, these two are very, very different. So the one thing is you have for the most part in the Canadian market anyway, most of the ISs are 6 cylinders except for the base model. And the power delivery of this engine and the whole sort of idea of the Lexus IS is this very smooth, sort of traditional luxury kind of feel. The BMW has that to an extent, but I would say that the BMW is probably a little bit more driver focused and a bit more engaging. They're both fine cars. The BMW is going to be bigger. If you're going to keep them for 5 to 6 years, the Lexus IS, hands down, will be one of the most reliable vehicles that you can drive. So if it's just about repairs, then the Lexus is a pretty good buy. Drive them both and see which one you want. The nice thing is about the BMW, it's going to have a 4-year warranty, and then you can get it certified and take that out to 6 years. So you could be covered fully for 6 years with the BMW. But yeah, Lexus IS is a bulletproof car. Barrick is here. Hey, Zach, the new Jeep Wrangler fully loaded is about $5,000 cheaper than the new Land Rover Defender. 110 with the V6. Is the Defender the better buy at that price? I haven't driven the Defender yet. We have it in March. I had a bit of back and forth with Land Rover Jaguar Canada about what's taking so long to get this vehicle. So I'm a little disappointed that I haven't been able to get one. I might actually go to the dealer and see if I can get one from them. So I can't really speak on that, Barrick, until I get the car in my hands. But one thing I will say in defense of the Wrangler and even the Grand Cherokee for that matter is that is a very close comparison. Those vehicles are off-road capable. Like a Grand Cherokee with the air suspension and so on is a very capable off-road machine, especially when they get the trail rated ones, and the Wrangler of course has that, and then you have the capability to go say like to a Rubicon. These are purpose-built off-road machines, the Defender included, so they actually do have a lot of similarities. I remember when the current Jeep Grand Cherokee came out in 2009, I was picking up a car at the Chrysler dealer, and the guy said to me, Oh, you wouldn't believe who was over here checking this out. It was the guy from the Land Rover dealer just around the corner. He couldn't believe that it has, all of these air suspension and things that you would typically get in a full-size Range Rover. So they are quite capable. Could you talk about the difference between the Accord 2018 LX versus Touring? Does LX have the noise canceling feature for road noise and safety Honda Sense? Listen, I don't remember all of the different trims of every single car and what came in them, especially now from 3 years ago. That's what the internet is for. I would suggest you can even go to a Honda Accord web forum to look that up. Noise canceling, I'm pretty sure was standard on especially on the LX. I would guess it would have that. But yeah, what trim and where it all came in, off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. You'd have to look that up. I can't remember every trim of every car. That would be quite an accomplishment. Hey Zach, I was looking at buying a Mitsubishi RVR used for my son, but then noticed that it has a CVT. Should I be concerned? By the way, smash the like button, peeps. Thank you for that. You know what? I like the little RVR. There's 2 engines. You want the bigger engine, of course. Makes a big difference. It's a cute little hatchback car, and it really was the original subcompact crossover. So we're seeing all of this new batch of small SUVs, whether it's the Nissan Kicks or it's the Kona or so on. The RVR was the original. Now the CVT, yes, is not what I would be looking for as my first choice, but it's actually okay in this car. Now, reliability, that's a question mark. Same thing again. I would go to a Mitsubishi forum and look up and see what the reliability of that engine, especially the larger engine, has been with the CVT. But depending on what you're going to pay for it used, you might want to factor it in that it might need some work done on it down the road. But yeah, it's a fun little vehicle. It's very simple. It's stripped down. It's quite basic, but I can see the appeal of the car for sure. Is the 2021 Ridgeline something you'd be reviewing anytime soon? Has Honda improved the 9-speed transmission? I had a 17 and I'm still kicking myself for selling it. I will tell you as a point of reference for Honda, period, that they have improved, and Acura, the shift quality of the 9-speed. The early versions of it. Oh, there's someone at the door. Come on in. What do you have, Jack? Oh, where's my mug?
I don't know where they are, I guess.
Okay, well, that's right. Here come. People want to know what happened to the Seattle Seahawks, Jack. What happened with the Seattle Seahawks?
Played terribly.
And what's wrong with Russell Wilson?
I don't know. He just didn't. I mean, he played horribly after after their first loss. All downhill.
Okay, who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Chiefs or Bills. It's one of the two.
I like the Bills.
Hopefully they win.
Who's going to win? Who's going to be the best team in the Canadian division for hockey?
Probably the Oilers.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the Canucks lost a bunch of players, right? So I'm not sure if they could.
Well, we'll see.
Win.
Still a PD.
Yeah, that's true.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, my mug's upstairs. Put the kid to work. Thanks, Jack. So across the board, whether it's Acura or Honda, the 9-speed, the early versions were horrible, to be honest with you. I remember driving the top touring version of the Pilot, and I was like, do not buy this. Buy the 6-speed. It's a much better transmission. That has improved quite a lot. I think they've done a good job with that. We're going to review it anytime soon. I'm not sure if there's one in the fleet. I'll ask them, see what they have. We have a good evening from Wheatman45. Hello to you. And Bradley's Car Reviews. Hello to you. All right. Besides Starling, are there any reasons insurance cost reduction tax breaks for 2+2s like the current Camaro that don't really fit anyone in the back? I've wondered that myself. I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. Is it an insurance thing? Is it? I don't know. I've always wondered that about why they stuff silly little seats in the back of cars. But you can always slide that seat forward and get little kids in there. I guess that's, I don't know. I don't know what the reason is. All right, we have a super chat coming in. Nice sports day update from the bar back. I don't really understand what that means, but I appreciate the super chat. Here we go. Go Habs, go. Come on. You think the Habs are going to be any good? You know what? I got to say, As a hockey fan, and because of COVID, if you're not aware of this and you don't follow the NHL, because you have to quarantine if you travel out of Canada and then come back into Canada for 2 weeks, for 14 days. Because of that, that's why the Raptors are playing their home games in Florida. They're not going to be crossing back and forth across the border, and they're just going to be staying in the U.S. and playing their games down there. But for hockey, because we have enough teams here in Canada, they're making it a Canadian division or a North division. So all of the Canadian teams are going to just be playing each other, whether it's Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Toronto, Ottawa, or Montreal. And I have to tell you, this is awesome. This is like almost like the original NHL, but it's not. But it's so cool. I mean, you're going to have these great rivalries. Like, we only get to play typically, Vancouver, I think we play the Habs twice a year, the Leafs twice a year. And the fact that we're going to have multiple games against all of these teams we typically don't see that often is going to be really, really cool. So I'm anxiously awaiting the beginning of the season, which is this week. Somebody says it's out of sync. Is it out of sync for everybody? Audio is out of sync. Jeez, I haven't touched a thing. What could possibly be wrong? Mic delay is on. How bad is it? Is it bad? How bad is the audio sync? Is it unworkable? Is it worth shutting down and starting again? It's bad. You guys need to type faster for me to help me out here, because they might shut it down and then start up again. It's good now. How bad is the delay? There's no delay.
0.1 seconds.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like it's fine now. Well, that's just the mothership Google. Another super chat. By bar, I meant your son's... Oh, the bar helper. Ah, I get it. Okay, people are saying that it's bad. Some people are saying it's fine. It's workable. Yes, not that bad. Okay, well, nothing changes. I actually, this camera with this microphone here goes back in that corner, and I don't touch it until the next live chat. And the settings on my computer, I don't touch until the next live chat. So, my bad. All right. Well, we're going to keep on pushing through. Thanks for everybody that wrote in there. I guess it takes a while for when you type it in to pop up on my screen. All right. So, thank you for the super chats. Sorry I didn't understand what you meant there. Let's get back to the questions. Okay. Way to go off the rails, Zach. Way to go off the rails. Okay, we drive a 2010 CX-9. Kids are growing, looking for new family vehicle. Need to get 3 kids. Looking at GLC base. Need to get 3 kids. Audi Q5. What do you think? For 3 kids, I don't think a GLC or a Q5 would be my choice. That's out of focus now. There we go. Would not be my choice. For 3 kids, I would probably go for a 3-row utility. So I don't know. If you've got a CX-9, you have 3 rows. You're using that 3rd row, I'm guessing, quite a bit. So I don't see how you could replace that functionality with a 2-row SUV. I've been reading more in the media that given Tesla's massive market cap, that it could possibly that they could buy a legacy car manufacturer in order to ramp up production. Thoughts? I don't know. I just don't think so. I don't think so. I think this whole Tesla valuation is absolutely absurd. I just don't get it at all. As somebody who's been watching, studying, following, and covering the car industry for 30 years, I don't get it at all. I know they make a great electric car. People certainly like them. They're close to 500,000 units in a year. But you know what? that's nothing compared to legacy car manufacturers. So the bet is on Tesla that they are going to be it when it comes to electric cars. And I don't think they are going to be it. There's going to be lots of different players, and it's going to be very interesting to watch. But I don't know. I just don't get it. Do you get to pick the cars to review on Motoring TV? Do you call dibs on all Porsches? No, I don't get to pick for motoring. Obviously, for the YouTube channel, we pick the cars. It comes down to a balance of what we think the audience will want to see, what is available, and that's kind of how we do it for the YouTube channel. For Motoring TV, there's so many different pieces that go into it, and what Brad does, Brad Diamond, the executive producer, he tells me, hey, listen, we need this, we need that. I was supposed to have a Polestar this past weekend to shoot for Motoring TV. Something wrong with the car. They had to cancel at the last second. So, it depends on what else is in the show. It's not up to me. Do you ever get into motorcycles? No. No motorcycles for me. Why not include the Chevy Colorado GMC Canyon for comparison with the Mojave in your review? We did mention them in the Wrangler video, I believe. There's only so much we can do in a review. We can't, the interesting thing about the reviews that Andrea and I are doing together, because we're trying to add in a lot of information, is the more information that you put into the video, people request even more, right? Like, how come you didn't cover this and how come you didn't cover that? It's like, well, you have to just draw a line somewhere and say, that's the video, that's the review. They're already creeping up to being almost 20 minutes long. So at some point, you just have to say that's enough. We try to mention a few competitors for each, but sometimes we just leave one out, basically for the time, for time. That's the main reason. How do they create the top view on the screen when engaging reverse? This is a very good question. So we have a Porsche Cayenne, and I was driving my son and a neighbor down the road to basketball practice, and his family had an older car, and I put the car into reverse, and then the 360 camera came on the screen, and he was like, how does that work? And I joked, I said, well, when I put the car in reverse, there's a little drone that pops out the roof and takes a picture overhead of the car. And he was like, wow. And he goes like this. He looks like this. And he kind of bought it. Now, he was about 14 at the time. All it really is the overhead view of the car is actually an animation. All right, it's just a cutout. And everything else, it's stitched together. So the cameras, the one on the left side is under the left mirror, the one on the right side under the right mirror. There's one at the front and one at the back. And what they do with software is they stitch it all together to give you this 360-degree view, and it accounts for angles, right? So if you have a camera, say you have a camera here and it's shooting off on an angle, it can give this sort of fisheye look. But the software evens all of that out. So it looks like it's a real overhead view, but it's actually just computer stitching of the lens. So what you could do is get somebody to go outside and then put their hand underneath the camera on the side view mirror, and you'll see it. And you'll see how it actually stitches together. Celtos, when you sound like a breath mint and look like a journey. That's good. I like that. Celtos, the fresh maker. Wasn't that the Mentos ad? Mentos, the fresh maker. Oh, hey, there's Andrea. Hi, Zork. Hi, Andrea. What's your name? Hi, Andrea. Brian Marks. Hey, Zach, remember when I asked you what the purpose of life is? I won't do that again. I'm hoping that you can recall the most insane the recall story you've experienced, and we can all have a laugh. Hoping you can recall the most insane recall story you've experienced, and we can all have a laugh. I don't know what you mean by it. What's a recall story? The funniest story I can recall? I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I can do that from on the top of my head. Great review of the 96 Mustang GT right there. So that's one of the Survivor series. I get these cars and do them. Hopefully, they don't get a lot of views, and that's okay. I think the people that like them really like them. They like looking at the old cars, and they're in great shape. This one will have 35,000 kilometers on it, or 21,000 miles. Yeah, so I like driving those. Actually, of the cars that I get to drive, the older ones are really quite cool. Living in the northern part of the U.S., I'm happy to see more sedan model offerings, all-wheel drive to the Camry and Accord. Do you think it's a fad or will stick in the marketplace? Absolutely, it is going to stay. Here's an interesting statistic. Now, I don't know in the United States. It's probably about the same. Canada, for the first time, went to 80%. Think about this for a moment. 80% light trucks, which include SUVs and pickup trucks. 80% of passenger vehicles sold now are SUVs. That's crazy. Only 20% are sedans. And because the market share for sedans is shrinking so quickly, the car manufacturers are adding more and more content into the cars, and they're giving them SUV qualities. I don't think it's going to be long before we see a raised car with cladding on it and all-wheel drive, making it look like a utility, but it's still a sedan. We're going to see that with the new E-Class wagon. We've seen it with station wagons, certainly, but not with sedans. So car manufacturers are throwing all of the same kind of attributes you get with utilities, like all-wheel drive, into the sedans, and it's not going anywhere. So you're right, Camry added all-wheel drive. Avalon is now available with all-wheel drive. The Altima is standard all-wheel drive. What else has come with all-wheel drive? There's going to be more and more of them. So yeah, it's only a matter of time before we're going to start to see even more sedans disappear. If the market continues like this, everything is going to be like an SUV, unfortunately. Hey, Zach, would you recommend the Corolla Hybrid? I know it's great within the city, but you do reviews upset. But why do reviews obsessed with 0 to 60 say it's underpowered? Does it have enough passing power on the highway? I would say it's actually strongest in the city. It actually is quicker off the line and has better acceleration than the regular Accord. Corolla. That is just a fact. There's a video that they did at the launch of the Corolla Hybrid in Quebec, I believe it was, where they did acceleration. Now, maybe it wasn't to 60 or 100 kilometers an hour, but they were doing acceleration, and the Corolla Hybrid was much quicker than the regular one. Now, passing on the highway is a different story. It's probably not going to be as assertive for passing, but the Corolla generally isn't what I would call a passing monster, put it that way. I actually think that the Corolla Hybrid is an excellent product. My worry with it, it's only sold in one trim. It doesn't even have alloy wheels, and there's no sunroof available. So those two sorts of things are really disappointing. You could always buy wheels off Craigslist or Kijiji or something like that. But yeah, all I can say is go and try it out on the highway. Off the top of my head, I don't remember it being bad. I'll tell you that. I actually thought it was a good little car. Howdy, Zach. How can you please explain the NASA-inspired zero-gravity seats? Thank you. All right, this is a good question. So what they did was they worked, from what I read, this is off memory now because it's been a few years. They worked with NASA on the pressure points of the seat, and they worked with the ergonomic development team to come up with seats that reduced the fatigue points on the seats, and it was done in conjunction, I believe, with NASA, which is how they came up with that. They are good seats. I think that some of their products are excellent. You know who actually makes a really comfortable seat is Ford. Ford, like we have the Explorer video coming up on Wednesday. Number one thing, Andrew and I both thought about it, man, these seats are comfortable. I find Toyota does a particularly good job with seats, but this is all very personal because what works for me and what works for you are totally different depending on your body shape, how long your torso is, if you're a big guy, a skinny guy, all those sorts of things. But that's basically what the theory was with the NASA seats, the zero gravity. And they are quite good. Eric, hey Eric, nice to see you from Montreal. Was now, if you're not aware, this is interesting. If you live outside of Canada, it's big news here. So Eric's in Montreal. Is that they have a curfew because of COVID, an explosion of COVID cases in Eastern Canada. At 8 p.m., you have to be at home. The only reason you can be out is if you're on your way to work or coming home from work. Walking your dog. There's going to be a lot of people borrowing the dog, the neighbor's dog. The dog's going to be like this. I have to go out again. But hopefully you're holding up, Eric. All right with the lockdown. Yeah, people have to be home by 8 p.m., which is quite serious. Was waiting on the Mark 8 GTI, but now changed my mind in getting a Mark 8R. Wow, what a beautiful hot hatch. Hopefully the base model won't be much more than a fully loaded GTI. Yeah, I don't know the pricing yet. I would be really torn. Now, you live in Montreal. I would suggest that... who's calling me? Darren. I'll call Darren back. I would suggest that it's probably a good idea. In eastern snowy, Montreal, Quebec region, you get a lot of snow. It's probably not a bad way to go. If it was here in Vancouver, where I am, GTI is a fun little car. You don't really need to worry about it too much. Now, Jason is just trying to goad me here. Hi, Andrea Spencer. You're the better half, right, Zach? Ha, 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 Jason. You're so funny. Will CRV Hybrid fix the oil issue? I don't really know much about the CRV Hybrid because we don't get it here in Canada. I suspect that when the CRV is fully updated, that's when they're going to bring it in. I would go, I always say, go to a web forum and see if that issue is common with the hybrid. What are your thoughts connected to the Audi A5 or S5? I think it's a wonderful car. I'm a big fan, I've said this many times, of what's called the A4 family of vehicles. So A4 family includes A4, the Avant, the Wagon, the All-Road, the A5 Sportback, and then the S and RS versions of that. It's all based on the same common platform, and I'm a huge fan of it, and I think they've done a fantastic job with it. I've got absolutely no issue with the A5. I really like the A4 platform. I think it's a great car. Yeah, have at it. Which compact SUV would you buy for higher mileage use, like 30,000 kilometers annually? Compact SUV for higher mileage use. Well, I would suggest probably like a Toyota RAV4 hybrid. If you're putting that many miles on it, the hybrid systems are bulletproof. They have been proven to be fantastically reliable. They do deliver amazing fuel economy. So if you're looking for a compact SUV and you do a lot of miles, well, that's going to return you your biggest savings. Now, if you're doing 30,000 kilometers a year, are you in sales? I'm wondering if sales now because of COVID. But yeah, if you're doing a lot of, and you're getting paid mileage, well, the difference between what you pay for fuel and what you get expensed, that can add up. So if I was buying 30,000 kilometers annually, yeah, that would be high on my list for sure. You and Andrea helped me pick the CX-5. I bought a carbon turbo today. Well done, Braxton McNeil. That is a great car. Actually, we're going to be booking in the, we have the turbo coming back. Was it the Kuro, the 100th anniversary version is the one we're going to be getting. As you know, if you watch the videos regularly, Andrea is a massive fan of the CX-5 Turbo. She's always going on about that. I have to agree with her. I mean, if you were going to buy sort of a not quite premium, but pretty high-end compact utility, and you wanted to have a really good driving experience with beautiful materials on the inside and a good-looking car, it's pretty hard to beat. Any news on the TLX Type S, debating between it and a used C43? Well, you know what? We just have to wait till it gets here. We can speculate all we want about it, but the proof is in how it drives. Nelson thinks that the Jets will be #1 in the North Division. I don't know about that. I really don't think so. I think it's going to be... Now, I'm not just saying this because I live in Vancouver, but I think it's going to be Canucks, Oilers, and Toronto. Hey Zach, remember the Pontiac Firefly hatchback? When when I kid my when I was a kid, I had a '97 Geo Metro hatchback auto. She traded 2 months later for a new '97 Accord Special Edition coupe. Yes, I do remember. What did I remember driving? It was the Suzuki SX. Someone could look it up. The Suzuki. It was the little 3-door hatchback, and it had the 1.3 or one. I think it was the 1.3 liter engine. Holy mother, that thing was great. What an engine! What a car. So that was all sort of part of the same kind of thing. Those were silly little cars. Remember the convertible version? Something else. Hey Zach, I got a couple months ago the Mazda CX-5 GT Turbo. The one you mentioned was your preference. What an amazing car, comfort and power. There you go. That's good to hear. By the way, Car Cost Canada, if you're shopping for a car, you want to sign up, use the promo code Motormouth and become an expert member. If you're looking for a car, like whether it's a C43 or a Mazda or whatever it is, you search the specific trim, and then it gives you the actual dealer cost for that car. That's powerful information when you're going shopping. You can go to the dealer and say, okay, I see that your cost on this car is, this. Can we work out a deal? Or they will go and do it for you. So I think it's a no-brainer. If you're buying a car, anybody you know is buying a car, go to carcostcanada.com and sign up using the promo code Motormouth. When will you review the C8? Well, there is a video already on the channel with the C8. I was at the launch in Las Vegas. It's there. Go and have a look. Great video on the Volvo XC40. What about the Lexus UX? Which of those two would you prefer considering buying for my elderly parents? Well, the UX is a hybrid, which that's going to make it quite different regularly anyway. It's not a pure all-wheel drive system like the Volvo. It uses an electric motor at the back to create all-wheel drive. It's not a mechanical system. Yeah, I think that, especially for elderly parents, if they're just wanting ease of use in a car that's going to work and drive and be perfect, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Lexus makes a good product. But I think the Lexus is a bit smaller. That's the only issue I would have with it is try it out and see if it works for them space-wise. Hey, Zach, what do you think of the MDX 2022 versus the Telluride? Well, same thing again. We got to wait for the Type S TLX. We got to wait for the new MDX. I am eagerly awaiting this new MDX for a couple of reasons. They're going to have A-Spec, of course. That's their styling package. They're also going to have a Type S. They're going to have the higher horsepower turbo engine, 355 horsepower. The regular one is 290, 300 horsepower, so about 50, 55 horsepower more. Now, this is a car that the reason I bring this up is because the MDX is the best-selling premium three-row utility, period. Like, they just sell them like you have no idea. So it's a very, very important car, not only for Acura and for Honda, just generally, a lot of people buy these. So I'm really going to be interested to see how it does. I think it's going to do very, very well. Now, your point is, get a fully loaded Telluride or get an Acura MDX. Well, that really comes down to badge appeal, right? It's the same thing like get a fully loaded Palisade or get the Genesis GV80. It's something to consider. It's going to be very interesting to drive it and to see it. It's a stiffer platform, apparently lighter. New transmission, new interface, basically a new car. So it's a very, very important car this year, the MDX. So I have to wait until we get a chance to drive it. The Oilers are still lacking depth on defense. All the high-end offense won't fix that. Well, that's been the problem with the Oilers forever, is they got all these shooters, but nobody to backstop them. Good evening. Which one is better, the CX-5 or the Rogue 2021? All right, now, if you're just talking about the 2.5-liter versions of each, I would say the new Rogue is a very good effort, like a very good effort. It's the one of the vehicles that really surprised us this year is what it did a good job on it. Now, it comes with a continuously variable transmission, which for a lot of people is a major bugaboo. They're not going to go there just because of the CVT, where you have a 6-speed a conventional automatic in the CX-5. The Rogue's a bit bigger. The interior of the new Rogue, I think they did a fantastic job on it. But the CX-5 has got class-leading materials and a wonderful design. Now, if you're comparing the top trim of the CX-5, well, that's a no-brainer. The CX-5 hands down with a turbo engine. It's just such a great effort. Andrea Spencer is saying the super chat was supposed to say nice sports update from Jack. There you go. I got it wrong. What is the most efficient car to commute 70 miles one way to work, not electric? 70 miles one way to work, not electric. Well, you could go hybrid. I'm not sure if it's all highway miles. I'm guessing it probably is. Or if it is, commuting through medium speeds. So hybrids typically are best in stop and go city traffic. But that being said, the new hybrid systems have the ability to go on EV on and off at higher speeds, creating fantastic fuel economy. So overall, I would suggest probably your best bang for your buck is going to be a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid. I would typically say a diesel for long drives, but you can't get a diesel any longer except in a few SUVs. So probably a hybrid would be the best. Would love to hear your thoughts on the BMW 135. Not rich enough for a 1M, so thinking about getting a nicely maintained 135. A great car. It really is a great little car. And you're right about getting the 35 over the 28. I think that is the way to go, especially if you can get a manual transmission. It's a fun little car, great little package. And I think, why not? The 1M is pretty cool, though. I remember driving the one I had was like the orange one, the really cool orange one. I'm just going through all these people talking about the audio delay earlier. Zach, you and Andrea make awesome duel on the videos. I truly enjoy them. I appreciate that. Oh, by the way, you guys can do me a solid. I always do this. Is go on Instagram and type in motormouth_Andrea. And follow along, because when I go up for dinner and we're having tacos, even though it's not Tuesday, I will be a star because I got her more followers on Instagram. So go to Instagram, motormouth_Andrea. Get your phone out and go on there. That'd be great. What would you recommend to replace our 215 kilometer Cayenne GTS? I've got a bit of a fantasy going on in my head right now. I am kind of obsessed with finding a Cayenne manual transmission. They're out there. So they were sold with the 6-cylinder and the first 3.2 liter VR6, and they were sold with the second gen VR6 3.6 liter, but the one that everybody's going to want is the first gen 2009, I believe it was, GTS. So you get the V8 engine and a manual transmission. Now that's what Zach would like. Okay, I'm getting way off topic. So Malcolm was wondering, what would you recommend our Cayenne GTS? What about a new one? The new one with the V8. So you go V8 Cayenne GTS to the new one. 215,000 kilometers. That's good. How's it been? I'd love to know, because I've got a Cayenne that's barely broken in. But why not get a new one? Great cars. About a decade ago, when Hyundai was changing their product line, every journalist said, watch out Lexus. 10 years later, they really haven't made much progress. Do you think Mazda will fare the same? I would suggest that Hyundai is in a very different situation than Mazda 10 years ago as a comparison. Hyundai was a cheap and cheerful brand. They were known for offering a lot of value. Their cars were inexpensive. They were just that, cheap and cheerful. Now, I would suggest that Hyundai has done an amazing job. Just before we went on the air here tonight, I got an email that they're bringing out the Hyundai Kona N, high performance, hot hatchback SUV. So yeah, they're still a brand to watch. And if you look at how successful they've been, it's been quite amazing. Now Mazda's starting at a very different place. They are not a cheap and cheerful brand. They are not a budget friendly. They're not the brand people turn to when they want to get the best possible deal. They're already trying to bring up their quality, and they certainly have, and also their refinement. I don't think Lexus has anything to worry about. Lexus is Lexus. But Hyundai, or interestingly, so the two brands that ended 2020 with the lowest percentage drop in sales were the two brands that I told you, if you watch regularly, that would do the best because of COVID. And they were Hyundai and Kia. Kia went down at only 5.8%, I believe it was. Hyundai a little bit more. But considering in the spring when everything was shut down, and then we've had recent shutdowns just before Christmas time in big swaths of the country, the fact that these Korean brands are down less than 10% compared to 2019 is amazing accomplishment. And I predicted at the beginning of COVID, people said, what do you think is going to happen? I said, the brands that are going to do well are the ones that offer value. And people are rushing to Hyundai and Kia at the perfect time, because not only do they offer a lot of value, they offer some fantastic products. Their cars and their SUVs and everything are really quite good. So yeah, they're winning. And so I would suggest that the race isn't over, and these brands develop strategies for the long haul. And I think that Hyundai and Kia, they're not done yet. What would be the best driver's car available nowadays that has a front rear layout? I think you mean FR layout, meaning front engine rear wheel drive. Best driver's car? It's easily the Miata, the MX-5 Miata, or a Mustang GT. Outside of the new ones, what's your favorite year and model of 911? Well, I own two 993s. I had a 97C2S and I had a 97C4S. If I had it my way, I would have a 993 Turbo or Turbo S, if I had it my way. But the one I really would like is a 991 GT3 Touring. 2018 Tiguan lease ends in 6 months. Thinking about getting a smaller SUV with more power, XC40, Q3, or X1. We have just kind of gone through this whole exercise. So there's Andrea and I in front of the Volvo. We recently did the GLA, and we also did the Q3. They're like, when people ask me this, I say all the time, there's no wrong answer. They're all good. And I'll throw the X1 in there as well. But the X1 is now 5 years old. The other vehicles are a bit newer. The GLA just came out, and the Q3 came out within the last year in the North American market. So those two are newer. And I think that I really like the Q3 because it runs on regular gas. For me, I think it's a big deal. I mean, tank after tank, mile after mile, you're saving money not having to buy premium fuel. And I like the clean simpleness of the car on the inside. Some people don't. They think it's a bit too stark and a bit too plastic fantastic on the inside. But for me, I kind of like that. I just like the clean simpleness of it. Got to find where I am here. Oh, I missed a super chat. Thoughts on Genesis GV70? Any idea when it will reach the North American market? From what I understand, it's going to be coming this summer or later this year. So we're going to see an updated G70, and we've seen pictures of it already, and we've seen pictures of the GV70. That is the car that really is going to be that's the meat of the market. I mean, small utilities or compact utilities, especially entry-level luxury compact utilities. So we're talking about to compete against the sort of the X3 and the Q5 and the GLC and those so on. That's really the meat of the market, and it's going to be fantastic to see. Any thoughts on it? Well, yeah, same thing again. I like the styling of the GV70 more than the GV80. I just think it's a bit more cohesive design. But same thing again. We have to wait until we drive them all. I missed another super chat. Mike Shaw's here. Hey, from Oakville. What is the importance of gears? Is it just a torque thing? My Porsche has 7. Some Hondas have 10. Thanks and be safe. Well, Mike, it's all done to the fuel economy gods. So typically you have the lower gears are mostly the driving gears in the city and what have you, and those higher gears are for when you're driving on the highway. You can really get the revs down, and when you have a multi-gear transmission, you have the ability to run the transmission up to the highest gear possible to deliver the power you need for the job at hand and keep the RPMs low, and that saves fuel. And that's why they do it. And that's why a lot of brands use a continuously variable transmission. So with a CVT, the spread in ratios is actually even greater than a lot of these multi-cogged systems like a 8, 9, or 10-speed automatic transmission. The ratios are actually wider. So that's why CVTs are so popular, because you can get a really sort of tall, what would be a virtual first gear, and a really long virtual end of the transmission. So it's all just done for fuel economy, and then the ability to tailor the drive within that range based on what you're doing. So for example, if you're going through a twisty mountain road and you put the car in the Sport or Sport Plus settings, it's going to shift the gears more often to keep the revs in the right RPM for driving satisfaction. Now, the more gears you have, the more opportunity you have to keep the engine in that sweet spot. So the first thing is it's for fuel economy. The second part is it gives you more available options for different situations. And you have to know that there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of different maps in the computer module for different situations based on the aggressiveness of the throttle, the brake, the steering, even elevation changes. All of those sorts of things come into play. All right, see if I missed anything else here. I know you've been to racetracks to evaluate a car. Have you ever had the perfect lap where everything went right? I've had some pretty good laps where I felt really good about it. But, the perfect line that I think is good, and then you get into the car with somebody who is like a pro, and you're like, oh, well, that didn't go as well as I thought. But, I can hold my own. And with everything, you have to build up your confidence again, right? So to go from the road and onto the track, the best way to do it is to start slowly and build it up through the day. And by the end of the day, especially if you have some seat time with an instructor, that's going to give you the best course for going through the lap, then you can really work on that and improve it. So by the end of the day, you can really be quite quick. You can have your lines down, your braking points, and all those sorts of things. So I think I would classify myself as a much better than average driver, and I can do okay on the track, but nothing like people who do it all the time. But I felt pretty good about some laps. It's a lot of fun. Hey, Zach, I remember I used to see you on TV. Are you independent now, or do you still review cars on TV? I always was independent. I have contracts with TV shows, but I now am on Motoring TV on TSN. So that is the oldest car show in Canada. It's been on the air for 33 years. It's on TSN, the equivalent of ESPN in the United States, and it airs every week. So yeah, I'm on TSN now. Hey Zach, my wife wants me to switch to an SUV. I currently have a Mercedes-Benz C300 2015. Can you suggest your top 3 SUVs to test drive? 5-seater budget, 40 to 45. Go Habs, go. So I would suggest that I would look at the same sort of class of vehicles, but the SUV variant. So for you having a C300, I would look at a GLC 300. It's a really good car, like a really good car. The Q5 and the X3. That's a great place to start. Those three. Just so you know, there is going to be a new. There's going to be a brand new GLC coming sometime this year. Not sure exactly when, but we will be getting it. So if you look at the GLC, remember, first of all, you better be getting a great deal on it because it's the end of the run, or you might want to wait. Okay, and if you're not in a rush, it's probably a good idea to wait. But 40 to 45,000, you're kind of at the bottom end of that snack bracket. To be honest with you, you might want to look one class down from that, and these are great products too. So that is the GLA, the Volvo XC40, the Q3, and the X1. You're going to get between 40 to 45, a fairly nicely equipped one at that price. Somebody pointed out, yeah, the S60 Cross Country, a lifted all-wheel drive sedan. I think that's where we're headed. We're going to see more of those. Hey, Zach, I have a Lexus GS350. I'm looking to buy an SUV. What would you recommend that has similar driving dynamics? Well, you know, an SUV is never going to feel like a sedan, especially mid-sized luxury sedan. The GS is a great car, by the way. That'll just run and run and run. And you know that when you get rid of it, that's it. They're not selling any more of them. So have you thought about a Lexus RX? I would say probably if you're in the Lexus family, that's probably not a bad place to go. So you could try the RX 350, would be a good place to start. Yeah, that's probably my advice to you. If you're in the Lexus family, it's going to have a similar kind of feel. I've owned 4 GTIs and now an R. The R is far, far superior in all conditions. Front-wheel drive is a compromised design. Well, that's why people like the R so much. I kind of agree with you on that. It depends on where you live, right? It's not going to be but it's a lot cheaper. Like that thing, GTI is a lot less expensive. How do you like the 16 Lexus IS 200T? To be honest with you, I never drove the base model. I'll ever had the 6-cylinder. Which car SUV do you suggest to use as Uber? I'm in Saskatchewan where winters are brutal. I don't know. I think the ultimate Uber car is a Prius, isn't it? A Prius E. What is it called? The Prius? The E all-wheel drive? The Prius with all-wheel drive? I'd buy a used Prius and use that for Uber. Zach, your thoughts on the Grand Cherokee L? Looks like they have taken cues from the Ram Laramie vehicles and making it very luxurious. Do you think prices will dramatically increase? Yes. So if you're not aware, just last week they introduced the Grand Cherokee L, which is a 3-row version of the Grand Cherokee, which opens up the door, of course, to the regular Grand Cherokee is going to be coming very soon, and that's going to be your 2-row, 5-passenger vehicle. Now, there always was a Grand Cherokee L available. It was called the Dodge Durango, built on the same platform, same engine transmission. Of course, it was done to the Dodge Execution, wasn't available with the advanced 4x4 systems or the air suspension, but you know what? A great handling vehicle. I would suggest that the Dodge Durango is got to be one of the better vehicles when it comes to driving dynamics for a 3-row SUV, and it's often overlooked, and I really like the Durango. But yeah, I think you've nailed it. It's going to be expensive. It looks expensive, but yeah. And then you have the Grand Wagoneer, which is even bigger, and that's based on the Ram 1500 platform. So yeah, they're coming at the SUV market. Jeep certainly has grown, and I call the FCA really is the Jeep and Ram brand. That's all it is. The rest of their vehicles really don't move that well. That's really what they count on. Hey Zach, will you be testing the all-new Audi A3? Yes, when it becomes available. It's not here yet, from what I believe. I don't think it is. Any news about the Toyota RAV4 roof rack leak issue? First, it's been brought to my attention. Same thing again. I can't know everything about every car. I always encourage you, if you're looking for specific details on the RAV4, for example, or any specific car, go to a Toyota RAV4 forum, see what other owners are finding out and what the issues are. It's the best way to find out. Chat rooms about so. Just type in Toyota RAV4 web forum and you'll find people with that issue. Any news on the Nissan Qashqai? I've seen the European test version. I wonder if it's coming to Canada. Yeah, it'll be coming eventually for sure. Qashqai's a good little car. I like it. Evan is asking, are we going to be doing the 2021 Santa Fe? Same thing, waiting. Like, I don't think people realize that the launches of new cars is a real pain in the ass for these car companies. Typically, they would have a launch event. We'd all go and drive the car, and then we'd all come home, and I'd edit the video and stick it out, and then that would be that. Now, they're trying to figure out, like, are the cars going to be coming? Is there going to be delays? Another thing that people aren't aware of is that the parts suppliers are not all capable of creating all of the parts needed for every trim. I was just picking up the Escalade today, and I was talking to the person who does all the purchasing for the dealership, and he said there's a real constraint on certain trims of certain cars are just not being offered. For example, the Escalade is a good example. So Cadillac Super Cruise is their advanced autonomous driving, the only one that has allowed you to go hands-free as you're driving down a major highway or interstate. Not available initially on the Escalade because the parts, the people that make them, all the parts that go into that, there's some parts constraint. So instead of Cadillac holding up the whole vehicle, they're just saying it's not available right now. Now, not going to be easy to retrofit or retrofit at all. And so what we're seeing with car launches and introductions is even though they have the best made plans, there can be issues. Another one is semiconductor shortage right now worldwide, and these are all used as for chips for all of the control units that are in cars, whether it's the screens or the control units for the cars. Ford has an issue, Nissan has an issue where there's shortages, and in fact in Ohio they're shutting down the SUV plant for Ford for a week because they can't get these parts, and we're going to see that through COVID and until it's all sorted out, because parts suppliers, like say for example you had 1,000 different, well, pick a round number, it's probably not 1,000, but say 1,000 different suppliers for a car, right? And one of them has a COVID issue and they got to shut down. Well, that one part will stop the car being made. So we're going to see more and more, not more and more of this, but we're dealing with this through COVID, that cars aren't showing up on time, certain trims are not being offered, and so on and so on. It's really complex. So yeah, when we get to 2021, we will of course drive it. But what and then you have all of the shipping constraints. There's lots of moving pieces. Patrick Dupree, looking for a similar size trunk to Mitsubishi Endeavor with same sportiness. Console legroom needed. Android Auto and 3,500 pound towing capacity. What are your suggestions? I don't know, man, because I've only ever seen the Endeavor. I've never driven one, so I would suggest that for that, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Zach, are hybrids boring to drive? RAV4 hybrid. They have improved them a lot. In fact, because they have electrification on board, they have electric motors, Toyota has decided to turn up the responsiveness of the electric motors to provide better acceleration. So yes, they are better than they were in the past, but they're still relying on a CVT. So that's where it kind of falls down a little bit. They are much more responsive. In fact, I would say that the RAV4 hybrid is a better vehicle than the regular RAV4. So all I can say is try one out. Did you see the pictures of the new Ford Maverick pickup coming next year? It's the same principle as the Ridgeline, a unibody truck. I did see it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Well, if I was a betting man, Zach, I'd wager the Jets finish up on your Canucks, but I don't want to take your money. I don't know about that. Hey, your thoughts on the Sorrento's regular inline 4-cylinder versus the turbo model? My drive is mostly in the city 80% of the time, considering purchase price and maintenance cost. Absolutely. Go and give it a shot. I've only driven the turbo. And I think that there's two versions. There's the base model and then the 1-Up. I think the 1-Up is the sweet spot. It offers a lot. I mean, listen, if you're just putting around town with it, it's probably going to be just fine. Think about what it is. It's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, which is what everybody else is using in the compact SUV space, whether it's Rogue or RAV4 and so on. So it's not out of step with that, but it is in a slightly bigger vehicle. So you have to go into it knowing that it isn't going to be the rock star off the light that you might expect from, say, the turbo. But if you're okay with that, why not? Give it a shot, see if you like it, and I think it'd probably be just fine for your application. New Kia Stinger versus used S5. Well, listen, it all comes back to badge appeal. Are you fine with driving a Stinger? And if that's okay, then probably a Stinger's a good car. But if you really want to have a prestige car, an S5 is an S5 is an S5. I mean, I can't answer these questions for you. You have to like really do a gut check and say, what is it that I want? Nice channel. Thanks for your content, including your wife is great since it's an extra opinion on the vehicles. Well, I would agree with you there. The feedback, especially in the last 6 weeks or so, has been fantastic. There's something going on with the Google algorithm. It's starting to sort of catch on to what we're doing here on the channel with Andrea and myself doing the video. So we hope that's the case. And the feedback has been excellent. And I thank you for that. And Andrea appreciates it too. Best-selling SUV here in BC. Thinking of getting a Toyota RAV4. I keep seeing them everywhere. I don't know if it's broken down by province, but the RAV4 is the best-selling compact utility, period. It is the bestseller. Hey, Zach, greetings from Victoria. We travel to Vancouver every month. Hope I can see you on the road someday. Love your reviews. Any thoughts on the RX 350 versus the new MDX? Well, these are kind of two different vehicles. The MDX much bigger, right? Much bigger. And if you're wanting that third row in the space, the RX 350L wouldn't be the choice. It's not really a very well executed third row compared to, say, the MDX. So same thing. Let's wait until we get a chance to drive it. Okay, we've gone past an hour. Thanks to everybody that's here. We have 280 plus people on board right now, 115 thumbs up. Can we smash a few more of those? We just went 116. I really appreciate it. So this week, it's going to be Explorer Hybrid video drops on Wednesday. The Mercedes-Benz A35, the AMG A35 on Saturday. The following Saturday will be the Escalade. Then we're going to do the Lexus NX Hybrid, then the Forester, then the Q5, and so on and so on. Don't forget to sign up for Car Cost Canada. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH to become an expert member. I am going to go and eat chicken tacos tonight. So thanks to everybody who's here, and I will catch up with you next Monday right here on the channel. Take it easy. Good night, everyone.